To the end zone. It's Robinson for the touchdown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Out of Hibernation. This is our USN Network's pregame show for all things Chicago Bears. We appreciate those of you that are joining us this morning. Big game coming up today. Very winnable game for the Chicago Bears against these Houston Texans. We got the return of Lovie Smith to Soldier Field. Should be interesting. We'll see if he gets a standing ovation. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. As always, I got my guy Ace with me. I'm not going to point at him because I can never seem to point in the right direction.
That's right. I fucked it up already.
Anyways, Ace, how we doing this morning, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well, man. Excited to see what this Bears team does against the Texans. Obviously, we had an unfavorable week last week against the Packers. I still think it was a touchdown on that 4th and goal, and yes, it does matter. That would have been a momentum changer for the game for sure to pull it within 7. But with that being said,
a little bit, I don't know, man. The Bears were fucking outclassed hardcore.
Absolutely.
27-10. Yeah, it would have brought you back in within 7, but it's hard for me to think
Aaron Rodgers.
Right. It's hard for me to think that defense was going to be able to stop anything the Packers were doing because they just didn't show any fucking will to do that at all the whole game. I knew I was going to get pissed off. I believe I said it during the show.
That you did.
Yeah, I'm always expecting to get pissed off by halftime whenever the Bears play. So,
yep, and I surely was as well.
Yep.
But I mean, overall, where we're at right now, the Bears are at 1-1. Hopefully 2-1 after today's very winnable contest against the Houston Texans. This is kind of right where we thought they would be, right? We didn't think the Bears would be 2-0 at this point. I mean, we hoped that maybe Justin Fields would break the cycle against Green Bay.
Right.
But some of us weren't even sure that we would beat San Francisco, and they outclassed them in that game. So
exactly. So like we're sitting at 1-1, which is better than I think anybody kind of hoped. 2-0 would have been wishful thinking.
Right.
You know, going into the Green Bay game, all people were talking about was, this is the time for the Bears to get right, to finally get one over on Aaron Rodgers and the vaunted Green Bay Packers. And it just, I believe the hype train. I bought into it, and then I was disappointed heavily when we lost. So that first drive looked really good, and then nothing happened afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it is, right? Us as obviously us as fans first, we always want to think the best of this Bears team. But realistically, I mean, we knew that Green Bay was the better team. And
right.
They came out and showed it. They ran all over the defense. That was, my biggest takeaway, honestly, from that game was that the linebacking core looked atrocious.
Mm-hmm. Sloquan, absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously, you've got a two-headed monster in Green Bay there with the running back position, but
right
for them to rush for more yards than we had in total offense, it's just atrocious for Bears fans to see.
So, I wanted to talk a little bit about like this loss to the Packers, and then get into Week 3. And it kind of brings us to my first question, like, does the coaching staff trust Justin Fields? So they threw the ball 11 times, I believe, with 9 completions.
Yeah.
It's hard to be like, yeah, they totally buy into this guy when you allow him to throw the ball 11 times. When you're down 2 scores to Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, running the ball, it was working, but that's because I feel like the Packers were comfortable letting you run the ball and they weren't going to let you beat them over the top and catch up in that game. So I think in terms of like, does the coaching staff trust Justin? I think it's difficult to make a definitive answer on that. I think that they trust him enough at this point. You got to remember it is a brand new offense. It's a brand new coaching staff. Maybe they don't see the progression that they were hoping to see going into, the season, and they're trying to, keep the training wheels on. They want to keep his confidence up, but it's difficult to watch as a Bears fan. And I know we all knew that this was going to be the type of season it was going to be. That doesn't make it less of a pain in the ass to sit through on Sunday, and especially on Sunday night when, you're sitting there waiting all day, literally, for that game, and then everybody watches the Bears get their ass kicked.
Yeah, let me stop you right there. I am so tired of the NFL putting the Bears-Packers at that 7 p.m. slot on Sunday night.
Yeah.
It's such, there's the excitement leading up to it, but then it's such a letdown after the game. And it's like, fuck, it's 11 o'clock. I got to work in the morning. Now I want to watch post-game coverage. I want to go over to NBC and watch Cap rip all over the Bears organization. And
I was listening to 1000. They got Peggy and Yurko on there talking about the Bears. And I love Yurko's takes on football, period. So, I'm up till midnight. I got to work at fucking 5 o'clock in the morning Monday. So it's a pain in the ass.
No, ultimately, I don't think that the Bears deserve that slot until they prove that they deserve that slot.
Especially against the Packers. Like, I understand if let's say Bears Vikings, because that's been a little bit more competitive
for sure.
Right. But Bears and the Bears have done nothing to warrant people buying into them beating Green Bay ever. That's a game you can leave on at even if you want to throw it in the 3 o'clock window and have it be America's game of the week. Like, I'm cool with that, but like, don't make me watch great football all day and then come and watch the Bears fucking put up 12 yards in the first half. Like, I'm not into that.
I agree 100%.
I'm not into that.
Alluding to what you were talking about, does the coaching staff trust Justin Fields? So I'm torn on this topic. I think that they want to trust him, but I don't think they've shown that they do thus far, that they have the faith in him required to be the guy.
Right.
And that's what Bears fans want to see. We want to see Justin Fields being the guy.
Right.
We want to see them, let him shoulder the load. I would be okay if they go out today and let him pass the ball 30 times. Fine by me. Let's see what this kid's made of. I mean, time and time again, last year there were flashes, and I always go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers game last year where he did everything he possibly could in his power to make the team win, and ultimately we ended up losing, but he had a really stellar performance at the quarterback position. And I think that we obviously haven't seen a game like that thus far this season. I mean, you look at, I think there was a stat that I saw the other day that stuck out that, the Bears have only attempted 28 passes while every other team in the league has completed at least 28 passes through the first 2 weeks of the season.
Bro, the Bears had 9 completions on Sunday. Nine fucking completions.
It's mind-boggling. You know what you have. I mean, time and time again, you can pull up the tape from Justin Fields playing at Ohio State, and time again, you see his deep ball accuracy. Yeah. And he knows how to make the right reads. He's making the right reads. I would like to see him get through his progressions a little faster.
And now that's the other thing, right?
A little too long.
That's the other thing. Maybe the fact that the offensive line has struggled for pass protection quite a bit. I'm not going to say that. I know. Okay, so I read a stat that said like they're like top 10 or something in pass pro.
I don't agree. That.
I don't think that's a fair assessment simply because they've only thrown the ball 26 times. Like, if you're throwing the ball 26 times, you don't have to protect as often, right?
Exactly.
So you're going to look better. It's like having 10 people in a class and 8 of them are getting A's. You know what I mean? And
right.
the algorithm's going to be skewed a little bit. I think that the offensive line, I think their best is run block. We've seen that against the Packers.
Absolutely.
I would love to see them do some more play action. I like that they move him out of the pocket, but more play action gets the defense on their heels, gets them moving one direction because they're just a little unsure on where the ball is going to go.
Right.
But this team, it's so annoying to just watch other teams put up 30 points a game. Look at the Eagles, right? That team was on fire last week. Then you got the Dolphins who are putting, even the Jets are putting up points. Like,
right.
It's difficult to watch these teams, and the Lions also. They're putting up points left and right too. Like,
yeah,
the Bears to me,
the last 2 weeks by the Lions. It's crazy.
To me, the Bears have taken a back seat for many years in terms of offense, but now you're looking at your division just at itself, right?
Right.
Packers, Bears, Vikings, Lions. And offensively, you're the last team in that division, right?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And, it's one of those things I've always, over the years that we've been doing this, I've always said that the Lions are gimme games, right?
Yeah.
Those Lions aren't a gimme game anymore. I mean, they're going out there and scoring 30 plus points per week.
Yep.
If they continue that trend, I really like what Campbell's done with the Lions. I will say that. I think he's definitely brought in a leadership structure that's unique. He's very hard-nosed, straight to the point, and it's one of those things. I read an article a couple weeks ago. Dan Pompei from The Athletic interviewed him, and it was a really good read, but ultimately, you just see the integrity for the game that he has and he's passing on to his players. And I think those Lions are going to be a tough team. The Bears are not going to be able to score 36 points against the Lions to beat them. That's
the Bears haven't shown it
as of current state. I mean, they haven't shown us anything to make us think differently.
You can't be like, oh yeah, no, they're going to. Well, there's zero proof that they can. There's no proof really.
So after the loss to the Packers, there were some interesting comments made, to say the least. And I think you've got a clip to share.
I do.
Specifically of one quote by Justin Fields.
Yeah, well, let me pull that up real quick. This is courtesy of sportscasting.com or NBC Sports, NFL on NBC. Hold on one sec.
It hurts more in the locker room than the Bears fans. I mean, because at the end of the day, they're not putting in any work. I see the guys in the locker room every day. I see how much work they put in. So just coming out with a disappointing loss like this, it hurts.
All right, so back to us now.
So the question alludes, was Justin Fields going at the fans with that comment? I'm going to take the lead on this one.
Go ahead.
I don't think he meant anything by these comments. I think it was taken out of context. He did apologize later in the week and say, a clarifying statement that wasn't what I meant, but it's harder for us guys in the locker room because we're putting in that work on a consistent basis. And I get it. Justin Fields is a competitor, man. He wants to win, and he's frustrated that he's not performing to the expected level. I guess not him specifically, but the team is not performing to their expected level.
Right.
So now, do I think he was going after the fans? No. Do I think he needs to be more cautious on the way he words things? Absolutely. I don't. What's your take
I
on
agree.
This?
So this isn't the first time he's put his foot in his mouth at the podium, right? Remember before the Cleveland game last year, it doesn't seem that fast to me, and then he goes and gets destroyed by Cleveland.
Gets sacked 11 times.
Right. So my thought process is this. I didn't see anything wrong with what he said. I would hope that the team that's putting in the work, going through all this shit every single day at practice, putting in the time to watch film on all these teams, I would hope they're more pissed off and mad about a loss than the fans are, because they're the ones, like he said, putting in the work.
Absolutely.
I don't have an issue with anything he says. Here's the thing. If he's great, nobody cares, right?
Right.
I think what people are more upset about is that, like, we were hoping to see a little more progression from the offense at this point, and it just hasn't
Right.
clicked yet. And, it is what it is.
Are you like trying to mock me? I can't understand.
The first week was like a torrential downpour, so you're not going to see a whole lot of offense. And then the stuff you did, you've seen some flashes of, him rolling out and broken plays. He was able to connect for a touchdown, and
Right.
so you get hyped about that. And then they win, and they do the splash, slip and slide at the end, and so you're feeling
that
good
made
going.
For an epic photograph. That's all I have to say.
And
I was
then you
thinking
go
about
into
getting
Green
that
Bay.
painted and hung on the wall. Honestly.
It is sweet. Too bad it's going to be a fucking 500 season. That's going to be the result of this year, which would be
right.
Makes it less important, I guess. Like if they were to go to the Super Bowl and win it, then that's an epic picture for the season, right? But
right.
I
but
think
ultimately, that's not the expectation that we have for this team.
Right. It's cool to see the young guys, kind of coming together for a moment. But then you go into Green Bay and your offense does one hell of an opening drive, right? And everyone's like, "Oh hell yeah, this is the start."
Setting the tone.
Yep,
Great start.
This game, yep, and no, and then they just shit down their leg the rest of the game, and it's difficult.
After that first drive, sorry to interrupt, but after that first drive, I'm sitting on my couch, had my cousin over watching the game, and I looked at him. We just kind of high-fived, and we're like, okay, the Bears are going to do this. They're actually going to drive down the field against Green Bay.
Yeah.
And then they proceeded to have 3 3-and-outs in a row, and I was like, oh, this is the same old Chicago Bears. Why would I expect anything different?
So my kid goes to bed usually around 7:30, 8 o'clock to get a good night's sleep. And I was like, oh shit, the Bears are doing something. I might have to leave because I'm gonna be too loud for this game.
Right.
After that first score, he's getting ready for bed. He's like, Dad, I need you to be quiet. I'm trying to get ready for bed. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I might have to leave.
Right.
And then the rest of the half, it was nothing. I sat on the couch.
The rest of the half, you were quiet. He was sleeping.
Yeah, that's right. There was nothing. Nobody, not even the dog moved because it was that boring of a game. And
so
it's
frustrating, right? Us as Chicago sports fans in general, both of us being Cubs fans, both of us being Bears fans, obviously following the Blackhawks and the Bulls as well.
Right.
It's frustrating, man, because over the last, put it this way, I'm almost 30 years old, and the highlight of Chicago sports for me is the Cubs winning the World Series.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good highlight, but
it is, but one time, it's not like the Cubs were a dynasty. And even when the Hawks were winning like crazy, I'm not so huge on hockey that, I loved it every minute of it. I watched as much as I could, but I wasn't watching every game of every season. So
like I'm a little more biased because my stepson plays hockey, so I watch him play,
of course,
and I'm more involved in hockey in general. So watching the Hawks was something that was a highlight for me. So I watched the Hawks win. I got the Cubs, the Derrick Rose Bulls were competitive until he got hurt. So there's been highlights of Chicago sports fandom that stand out to me, but
none of them are Chicago Bears related.
Right. The Bears, I don't care what anybody says. The Bears are without a doubt the number one team in Chicago. Right. Because the NFL is the number one sport in the world. Like whatever people want to say. We got our guy Turtle sitting in the green room. I'm gonna bring him in real quick and get his thoughts on all this.
Yeah, let's get him in here.
What's up,
What's up, Turtle?
What's up, guys?
No, we were just talking about Justin Fields and his comments about that he doesn't really care about the fans being upset, that he would much rather, he worries about the guys in the locker room. Was he going at the fans, or do you have a problem with what he said?
I think he's just a young kid that doesn't realize that everything he says is going to be scrutinized now. I think he was just trying to say that, like, it doesn't bother him that the fans are upset. Like, that it's okay the fans are upset. He's worried about keeping the guys in the locker room on, locked in and ready to go every week. and I think he just didn't word it right. You know, it's really one of those that you got to give him the benefit of the doubt until he gives you a reason not to.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
And I'd rather, like I was telling.
I was just saying, from everything we've heard from Justin, he seems like he's that go to bat for his teammates guy, and I think that's all he was trying to say, was that he, you know, is worried about the pulse of the locker room more than he is. You know, if the Bears go out and they win today, and they win convincingly, you're not going to hear anything about, well, they only threw the ball 15 times in 2 weeks. They didn't win against Green Bay. So I think he was just trying to say that the fans they're gonna be up and down based on what they do on the field. But if the locker room stays together, that's the important thing.
I agree. Like I was telling Tarbill, I was like, you want your team to be more affected by a loss than you want the fans to be, because they're putting in all the preparation. You know, I think sometimes on especially Bears Twitter, and I don't know if this is other fan bases, but I do know that Bears Twitter is very toxic in terms of it's so up and down. One day we're ecstatic. The Bears beat the 49ers in a monsoon, and then they lose to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and all of a sudden the world's coming crashing down. And we all knew at the beginning of the year that this wasn't going to be a season that was Super Bowl aspirations, right? We all knew that the main thing we wanted to see was going to be, can the Bears and Justin Fields more specifically show that growth that we are hoping to see? Because at the end of the year, I still think it's going to be difficult to decide if Fields is the guy, simply because it's a new offense. There's not a lot of
stop. If we do not know that Justin Fields is the guy at the end of this season, it's a failed season.
I'm not necessarily saying it's a failed season if he's not the guy. I'm just saying it's going to be difficult to make the ultimate stamp because of you got a brand new offense.
So you know that I like to play devil's advocate here, and I like to play both sides. So let me ask this, because this is the question I've asked so far, and no one's been able to give me an answer. Every Ohio State quarterback has been garbage.
Facts.
What do you see out of Justin Fields that makes you think he's going to be the one?
He's wearing a Bears jersey. That's why.
Okay. All right. Let me stop you there, Vince. As much as I usually agree with you, I got to disagree on this one, just because I don't think that it matters, honestly, what school you go to, what program you come out of. I think each and every player is unique in their own aspect, and I don't think that you can judge a guy just because he's from Ohio State.
I mean,
I think Vince is muted.
Vince is muted. You're muted. Well, Vince
he's going off, but he's going off, but we can't.
I know
hear him.
We can't
Sorry
hear him.
about that. I didn't realize.
That's all right. That's all right.
I said, so he runs like Lamar Jackson. I get that. He's fast. He's very indecisive to run. He holds the ball for a really long time.
He does do that.
And he turns his back to the field. 3 things that you never should do as a quarterback, no matter how dynamic you are. I just don't know what he does that makes everybody go, okay, he's the guy. He's going to be the one to lead us.
And I'm not saying at all that he is. I'm just saying that I don't think you can put him in a class. Like, I hate the comparison that he's an Ohio State quarterback. All Ohio State quarterbacks are garbage. Or he's a Notre Dame quarterback. All Notre Dame quarterbacks are garbage.
But after guy after guy after guy, after a while, you go, well, is it the system that they learn that makes them?
So here's my thought on Ohio State quarterbacks, right? Ohio State is what? One of the biggest college football programs in the country, right?
Yes.
So you get all these elite, young, talented guys that are going to play on this team, right? Your quarterback, wide receivers, offensive linemen, basically almost the perfect system, right? You got all these elite guys going against these other programs that aren't necessarily up to par. They might have some guys here and there that are, good on defense that are able to hold their own. But then when you get to the NFL, man, a lot of those great quarterbacks that are playing on teams like Ohio State or Alabama or, Clemson, anything like that, a lot of those guys go to teams that aren't good. So then they're put in a situation where there's zero around them, and they have to basically come up with magic, turn shit into chicken, or what's the old saying? Turn shit into chicken salad or something like that, and it's
I can't hold the one.
It's difficult to.
We got a comment from Leo here in the chat. Josh Allen developed, Justin Herbert developed. How many people had them being something out of college?
Right.
So Josh Allen came into the NFL with the strongest arm in football. That's something that separates you from everybody else.
Right.
Justin Herbert is taller than everybody and athletic. He has a strong arm. He can see over the line no matter how much you put in front of him. He can still see the receivers downfield. Those are things that separate you from everybody else. My only point is he does absolutely nothing that separates him from anybody else.
Right.
There's nothing, even if you go back and you look at college, the best college programs, and look at Ohio State, they run a spread offense. What do you see in college football more than anything? Throwing to open receivers. The biggest advocate of that was Jamarcus Russell. The year he was taken first overall, he beat Notre Dame in a bowl game for LSU, throwing the ball 50 yards downfield to wide open receivers.
Right.
You don't have wide open receivers in the NFL.
Yep.
So I'm not saying he's not the guy. I'm just saying so far through his college career and so far his short career with the Bears, I see nothing that separates him from everybody else.
Fair enough. Counterpoint from Leo here in the chat. Fields has a strong arm too. He also has good touch.
So does every starting quarterback in the NFL.
Now, so what I'm going to say about Fields is like I said back to my point about like you're coming from these programs where everything goes right for you, right? And then now you're thrown into a situation like with the Bears where you got average at best offensive line, no wide receivers, a defense that's kind of in flux in terms of getting younger while still trying to be competitive.
Right.
So now you're put in a situation where those windows you had in college aren't there. You got guys that aren't separating as much as you need them to separate from the defenders. So now you have tighter windows you got to fit the ball into. And if you're not on the exact, they always say football's a game of inches. If you're not in the exact spot the ball needs to be, that's an interception, or it's over the head of the wide receiver, or you look foolish and you're holding the ball too long. You're getting sacked too much. A lot of the sacks that he takes, I don't care what anybody says, are on him from holding the ball too long and not being decisive. Like last week against the Packers, right? When he did that pass where he threw the ball when he was past the line of scrimmage, right? If he would have just in his mind decided, okay, I'm going to run, he probably would have got the first down on that play, or at least close to it, and that's where I think I'm not necessarily giving up on Justin Fields because, like I said, a new offense, all these new weapons. I just think that there's some things that make me question if he really has the understanding of what he's doing. There's a lot of times where he looks very unsettled in the pocket, and I get it, your offensive line is trash. But when you're in the NFL, your quarterback needs to have that poise in the pocket as well as being able to move out of the pocket when pressure gets to him. And I don't think he's comfortable in that aspect just yet. Well, hopefully they can get there.
And you see teams who have bad offensive lines, their quarterbacks get rid of the ball faster.
Right.
Just because they know that, okay, well, I can't hold on the ball. My line is not going to hold up for me. He tends to hold on the ball longer. I'm not saying that he can't be a good quarterback. I definitely 100% believe that the Bears can win with Justin Fields. I just don't know that he's ever going to grow into a quarterback that they win because of.
Fair enough. I do want to shift gears here, fellas, moving off of Justin Fields. Let's get into the game for today. So each and every week here on USN's pregame show Out of Hibernation, we introduced a new segment week 1 called Bare Bones, where we discuss the keys to victory that we believe are necessary for the Chicago Bears to take the W on Sunday. So I want to get into that right now. I think we have a very winnable game. So let's get into the bare bones.
right.
Let's get into it. Bare bones here each and every week. Like I said, we're going over the Bears' keys to victory. We're going to go around the table. Ace, I'm going to let you start. Give us one thing that you believe is a key to victory for the Chicago Bears today.
All right. So one of the biggest ones that I thought was that needed to happen today was, and I say this, it feels like I say this every single week. But Cole
Go
Kmet,
ahead.
right? Cole Kmet is so frustrating to me. I get it. The Bears' offensive line isn't great, and he's got to stand and help block. But man, when you get your opportunity, like he had last week, ball hit him right in the hands and he dropped it.
Got to seize the moment.
Right. You have to show your young quarterback who's struggling that you are a security blanket, because that's what a tight end is supposed to be. He's supposed to be the guy that the quarterback can rely on to be open, to be a safety valve when the pressure gets to him. And he hasn't proven that yet. And I say yet with hopes that it's going to come. I don't feel confident that it is, but he is somebody in this game, especially, that I feel really needs to step up and have himself a better performance than he did last week.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think obviously we need more production out of Cole Kmet. The production's been non-existent thus far. This year it's been really bad. And, we all expected him to step up with Jimmy Graham not being on this team anymore. And
Right.
he just hasn't done that. And it's frustrating for Bears fans. Ultimately, just to allude, him and Darnell Mooney are your number 1 and 2 guys that you should be throwing the ball to, in my opinion. And neither one of them have had any production thus far this season. So I don't know. We need to see something out of Cole. Turtle, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think it's hard to say that you need to see more production out of any receiver on his team when they've thrown the ball 15 times in 2 weeks.
Fair.
I mean, you're talking about it. Football is definitely a game of rhythm, right? You get a couple quick catches, little bit of contact, and now you feel like you're in the game. Imagine you're Cole Kmet, you're blocking the whole game, and then all of a sudden in the third quarter, a ball is thrown to you, and you're like, oh, shit, the ball actually came to me.
I mean,
fair enough.
I get that, but
when there's 15 pass attempts in 2 weeks, it's hard for an offense to get in any sort of rhythm.
And I understand that too, but I also think that, I mean, you're a professional football player. Your job,
he should have 1,000% caught that ball.
Right. The ball literally hit him in the hands and he just dropped.
He should have caught that ball. I'm just saying, for me, it's hard to think of, well, we need more out of our receiving anything when we're only throwing the ball 15 times in 2 weeks.
Right.
Well, I think we need to throw the ball more too, but
Are you trying to mock me? I can't understand.
It's I understand the first week we had all the rain and it was very sloppy conditions, so you were just trying to run. And look, they won the game, so I mean they did what they were supposed to do. But yeah, I would love to see Cole Kmet and, even to your point, Darnell Mooney both get a little more involved. Maybe just be that much better, right? Like you got to line up against the guy you're lining up across from him and say, well, I got to beat this guy just because, like Ace said, I got to give my struggling young quarterback a target. I got to give him some confidence. Let me beat my guy. Let me do whatever I have to do to get open, so he knows he can get me the ball. If everything goes to hell on this play, he can throw it to me and I'll make a play for him.
Yep.
I'll be that safety valve for sure.
So that's the number 1 guy that I think the Bears need to that's the bare bones number 1.
All right.
So
moving forward, for me, it's tough to hone in on one thing specifically that I want to see this team do this week. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, for the Bears to win this game, we need to see 175 or more passing yards from Justin Fields this afternoon.
Isn't it kind of bogus that 175 is like, if we can hit that, we might win?
We threw for 70 last week, right? I mean, ultimately, if they can get to 175, 200 yards through the air and have 100 plus yards on the ground, I think it'll be a good day. I don't think that that's necessarily a key to victory, but it's something I want to see as a Bears fan, right? Like, we all get excited every once in a while when Justin Fields has those flashes. I always allude back to the 4th and 13 touchdown run against the 49ers last year, or that final drive against Pittsburgh, where you see those flashes, and as the commentators like to say, Justin Fields making magic happen. I want to see more. I want to see Justin Fields throw the ball. I'm going to say 200 yards today. I don't think there's any excuse that he can't do it, and I want to see him get Darnell Mooney more heavily involved, as well as Pringle. I'd like to see both of those guys have at least 6 or 7 targets each today. Realistically, my key to victory is going to have to be getting the passing game going.
I like it. I agree. I mean, at some point, you have to take that step forward. The NFL is not going to come to you. You have to go to the NFL. And the way that the NFL is going is you need to be able to move the ball through the air, right? Bears
Take
football.
that risk.
Right. And that's the thing, right? And I understand you don't want your young quarterback to develop bad habits. But sometimes baptism under fire is necessary, right? You need to have him go out
To an
there.
extent, yes.
Like, don't have him go out there and just get destroyed like he did in Cleveland last year. But, like, have him go out there, give him some quick early, quick slants, a couple screens, maybe a couple play actions to get him a little more comfortable.
For
And
God's
then-
sakes, take a shot on first
right,
down. That's all I'm saying. Like, you go out there, and last week, perfect example. You go out there, set the tone early with the run game on the first drive. You go down, march it down their throats and score.
Right.
The very next drive, you come out and go 3 and out with the run. I get you want to go with what works, but then you also take the hot hand out in David Montgomery.
Right.
And don't go back to him till the second half, which makes absolutely no sense. Leave that guy in there. He will tell you when he wants to go out. Don't pull him out because you think that Khalil Herbert's the better option. And he's not. I love Khalil Herbert, but David Montgomery is a beast, and that kid brings a different energy to the field.
Right.
But back to Justin Fields, you go out there and run the ball down their throat on the first series of the game last week. The very first thing you should do is come out in that second drive, take a shot at a deep ball on 1st and 10. There's no reason not to.
I agree.
So I think today. So I was going to use this as mine, but I'm just going to audible and go with something different for mine. I think I'm just to kind of expand on what you said, Tarbill. I think the Bears throw for at least 250 yards today. I think the big thing they're going to do is, but it's not going to be those deep shots. Part of it is know who you're playing, right? You're playing Lovie Smith. What does Lovie Smith do? He runs a Tampa 2. They're going to run 2 high safeties. They're going to take away the deep ball. They're going to play press underneath. They're going to take away the short stuff. What does that do? We've seen as Bear fans for years, it leaves the middle of the field wide open.
Yep.
Who does that help? Ace's boy, Cole Kmet. Go find yourself a spot over the middle of the field.
So they're going to dink and dunk their way down the field today.
I don't know if it's going to be a dink and dunk, but I think it's going to be like 15 to 20-yard shots, not 35 to 40-yard shots.
And I'd be okay with that.
That intermediate area is going to be open because they're going to run the 2 high safeties. Houston doesn't have a lot of good corners, so they're going to be left on island while the safeties are taking away the high stuff. So, look, I want to see the slants. I want to see the outs. I want to see the posts. I want to see Cole Kmet find a soft spot in the zone. I want to see Darnell Mooney do something other than run a go route. I understand he's fast, so he can stretch the field, but today's not the day for that. They're going to have 2 high safeties, so I want to see him dig himself out an area about 12 to 15 yards down the field where there's nobody defending him and make a good catch. And Justin's going to have to see that, though, and he's going to have to not try to push the ball downfield just to do it. He's going to have to take whatever the defense gives him. And I know that struggles for a young quarterback sometimes, but he's going to have to be smart today. Lovie Smith has run the same defense for 20 years.
Right.
It's a similar defense to what they run, so like
right.
It's something that he sees
somewhat regularly.
Right, in practice especially. Like this should be a defense that like Turtle said, I don't think Lovie Smith has always been a guy that'll keep the big play out of reach, right? But if you can have some nice 15, 20-yard completions, get him in a comfortable rhythm. We've seen it when Justin when Justin feels comfortable, he's more apt to make things happen. right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I think that's what they need to do is get him comfortable today early.
And then protect him when you get to the red zone and run the ball with David Montgomery when you get to the red zone.
Right. And I believe
Right.
last week, Troy Aikman said something about like when he was playing with Emmitt Smith, and at times it would take him needing to have a couple quick completions to understand like, okay, this is my team. I'm the leader of this offense. I'm what's going to have to help us win this game. And I feel similar to Justin, right? With the way that the last year went, he was unsure about his standing with the team. I think he needs to be confident early and often to make sure that he knows like, okay, hey, this is my team. This is my offense. It goes through me.
Absolutely agree. I think that, that's one of the biggest things is the first drive last week, they come out, they run the ball down the Packers' throat, so to speak, for that drive and that drive only. And Justin wasn't really a huge part of that drive. I mean, sure, he's handing the ball off, but anybody can hand the ball off in the NFL, right? So ultimately, I feel that he's such a competitor that he almost gets frustrated at times when they go run heavy just because he wants to shoulder the load and he's not able to do that when, we're only passing 15 times in 2 weeks or whatever it's been. Like, that's
right.
But back to Turtle's point, I think, you look at all of the guys that we have on offense, all of the receivers are supposed to be these really speedy, really dynamic guys. Break it off for 15 yards and then let them run after the catch.
Right.
Like, ultimately, I think that's a smart game plan for the Bears to have if they attack that middle of the field. And, like Vince said, hopefully Cole Kmet can have a big game because of that today. I would love to see Cole Kmet at least get a touchdown. I've got him in a fantasy league because nobody else was available. So,
I mean, so I don't know if you, those of you that have followed me since I started doing podcasting with another network that I was on, I used to do a parlay every Sunday and a Bears parlay, and it never failed. Cole Kmet would be Cole Kmet anytime touchdown. And there were so many parlays where that was the only thing that did not hit.
that was the only leg
The
that
lone
missed.
thing that did not hit for me. Today I have another one, and that is one of them. I am expecting Cole Kmet to have at least one touchdown today.
At least, he says, with confidence.
Because all you've heard all week is how Cole Kmet has to get going. And I think it's over on Justin Fields' passing yards. I think it's over on Cole Kmet receiving yards.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is the week to play it all because you've had it all drop because of the first 2 weeks they've shown.
Right.
And
Right.
as a Bears team, you gotta come out of the gate. And you're playing a very beatable team.
Right.
I really want to get to our third
Bare bones.
bare bones key to winning. But I gotta make a little side note here, as you guys know I love to do. Did you guys hear Arthur Smith, the coach of the Atlanta Falcons, after the game? It was either after the game last week or maybe it was on his Tuesday press conference talking about Kyle Pitts.
I did not.
So it kind of relates to what you were saying about Cole Kmet and your fantasy team. I have Kyle Pitts all over the place. I got him in my dynasty league. I kept him in my keeper redraft league. I think the dude is a stud. I think he could be one of the best tight ends to ever play the game with the skill set that he has. He has, through 2 weeks, both games, he had one catch for 19 yards.
That's
or I
rough.
think he had 2 for 19 and then 1 for 19. But both weeks he had 19 yards. So Atlanta's 0-2. A reporter asked Arthur Smith, "Are you worried, or will there be an emphasis, or whatever he worded it? Will there be a focal point to get Kyle involved in the offense? And do you relate that to why it's such a slow start for you guys?" And he said, "This isn't fantasy football. We're just out here trying to win games. You're 0-2.
Okay.
Whatever you're doing is not working.
Right. It's not
Maybe
working.
getting the best playmaker on your team the ball will help that."
Yeah. I mean, 100% I agree.
So
Yeah,
I just
agreed.
I had to touch on that for a second. I thought that was very comical when he said, "Hey, we're not worried about getting certain people involved. We're just winning games." No, you're actually not winning games. You're 0-2.
Right.
Right.
Right? Like if you're
Maybe
2-0,
try
nobody
something a
says
little
anything.
different.
Right? Like
Right.
if you're 2-0, everybody says, "Hey, whatever you're doing, it's working." But
If you're
whatever you're
0-2,
doing is not working, you're 0-2.
Right. It's just, it's hard. The NFL is so fucking, sorry. The NFL is so difficult, right, to predict in general because of,
It's become a PG rated show.
well, no,
Right.
but I know you're out at a baseball diamond and I'm not trying to like
Oh, it's
be
okay. I went
dropping F-bombs.
away from all the kids, just parents around here.
Oh, okay. They don't care.
No.
So I want to get into our third key to victory from our guy Turtle here before we wrap up. Turtle, what do you got for us today? What do you think is ultimately going to be the Bears' key to victory this afternoon?
I think this key is very crucial, and I think if they do it, the rest of it will just kind of fall into place. The defense has to go out and dominate. Like, you look at Houston's offense, and there's really nobody that you're afraid of. Does Davis Mills scare you? No.
No, not at all.
Their only receiver they have is Brandon Cooks. So you're going to play deep. You're going to take away the deep route, and you're going to keep Brandon Cooks in front of you. Eddie Jackson's probably going to play over the top on a bracket, and you're
Right.
gonna put Jalen Johnson or Brisker or Gordon or whoever on him, and you're gonna bracket him over the top with Eddie Jackson to take away the deep ball. They don't have much of a run game. They don't have much of a presence anywhere else. OJ Howard had a couple short touchdowns, but those were the only 2 catches he had. There's just not a lot on that offense that really scares you. And I think this is a game where the defense just has to go win the game. What helps your young, struggling quarterback and struggling offense the most? The defense dominating. We've been here before as Bears fans, right? We've seen the days where there was no offense, it was all defense. And you know what? They still won games. So I think they need to channel their inner Lovie Smith and go out there and win the game defensively like we used to do before the Bears had an offense. Don't rely on the offense to go out and win this game today. Allow them to be free and just play in a tie game or ahead the entire game, and let Getsy have a whole playbook rather than, well, we're down 2 scores. We have to be, we have to do what everybody knows we're going to do. Let them have some.
Right.
If we want to run, we're going to run. If we want to play action, we're going to play action. If we want to pass, we'll pass. Do whatever you want to be able to do, because the defense is out there winning this football game. I just really think, and especially Roquan Smith. Roquan had a rough offseason. He wasn't there for a lot of training camp, so I'm sure he's not conditioned all the way. But, you want to be
They're calling him Slow Quan.
You want to be the highest paid linebacker in football? Then you need to go prove why you deserve that. And so far through 2 weeks, he hasn't done that. He played okay in week 1 against San Francisco, and he played like trash last week against Green Bay.
Absolutely.
As good as the defense played week 1, that's how bad they played last week. And if you're talking about the defense, it's got to start with Roquan. You're a captain. You're the linebacker in his team. You're the general out there. You've got to go set the tone early. Take away the run. Rush Davis Mills. Take away the pass when you're covering the tight end. Absolutely suffocate this offense. It's a very weak offense. Go out there and suffocate this offense and allow your offense to go out and do whatever they want to do to dominate this football game from opening whistle to the end.
And I'm 100% agreeance with you on that the defense needs to step up. I think the guy, I know you said Roquan, I think Travis Gibson needs to have a continuation. I think he's played really well the first 2 weeks. I would love to see him go out there and just wreak havoc and get to Davis Mills. 2 sacks today, maybe a forced fumble.
He definitely will be a deciding factor on what this defense does.
Yep.
Because when he's getting to the quarterback, even if he doesn't get there for the sack, as long as he's disrupting the play, it makes everybody else's jobs a lot easier.
And we've seen that, right? With
sure.
the typical Bears, when the defensive line can get up to the quarterback, cause that pass rush, the quarterback, has to get off their timing. They throw the ball. That's when takeaways come, right? And that's what I think he's going to to have to do today is get that pressure, even if it doesn't result in sacks, but to rush the quarterback, get him out of rhythm, force a couple takeaways. I think that will be a huge switch the field, right? That's the problem that the Bears had against the Packers. Their starting field position was awful.
Right.
So
Like
you
average
need
of the 12-yard line or something. I
well,
believe.
right. And I mean, the dude taking the ball out of the end zone every single time didn't help. That guy, I don't know, man. I don't even know who the hell it was, but
keep your offense in positive field, good field possession to start every drive.
right. And the momentum shifts. I don't care what people say. If you're a returner and you take the ball out of the end zone and you only make it back to the 12-yard line, that's momentum to the defense, right? They're coming out there, they're fired up. They're like, hell yeah, our dude stopped him. That's exactly what happened in that Green Bay game. Every single time he tried to take
happen today.
Right. Let your offense start the ball. Let's start with the ball on the 25-yard line. Don't put them at the 10, the 9,
or more. Win the game
18.
on defense and let your offense start at the 35 to 40 every time they have the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And the defense was made look funny last week. I'm hoping that they come out and they have a fire to them this week that's just going to show that they're hungry and that what happened last week was just Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers.
To your point, if I'm Kyler Gordon and I'm Brisker and I'm all those young studs that had such a great week one, after that performance I had against Green Bay, I'm coming out proving a point.
Right.
Because we took all that momentum from a great debut in the NFL to, maybe it was just a fluke against a wet condition game against San Francisco.
Yep.
Where their starting running back got hurt. Maybe they're not as good as they are. So I want to see them come out today and prove a point from the opening whistle that they are as good as they played that week one.
They are who we thought they were? Is that what we're getting at right there?
We're getting close to that territory.
They are who we thought they were.
So I do want to say real quick, I did kind of highlight week one before the game when we did our show that, one of my concerns for the 49ers is Trey Lance and the way he runs, right? He stands up like he's a running back in the pocket. And I said he was going to get hurt. And then week two, he comes out, does exactly that, stands up like he's trying to be a running back, gets hurt, potential season-ending injury, and now Jimmy Garoppolo is once again the starting quarterback of the 49ers.
The most handsome starting quarterback in the NFL.
And Jimmy Dimes, he came out dropping 30-yard touchdown pass. The first drive he came in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Shanahan walked up to him after the game and said, "I'm sorry."
Well, here's my thought on that real quick. I know this is a Bears show, but you got a guy in Jimmy Garoppolo. Is he the best? No. But the dude took you to the NFC Championship game and then the Super Bowl. And you're like, all right, well, we drafted this clown in the first round. We're going to go with him. Look what the Packers did with Jordan Love, right? It's the same concept. Jimmy has given you no reason to bail on him. He's not. It's even worse though than
the Jordan Love thing. The Jordan Love thing, they're just like, we got this guy here, but Jimmy Garoppolo. All of a sudden, they were like, we can't trust him to throw the football.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
What has he done to make you feel he can't throw the football? You get to the Super Bowl, you throw the ball 8 times. Well, that's not Jimmy Garoppolo's fault that you lost. Throw the damn ball.
Right.
What are you doing? You're running the ball.
And let's not act like that was just an offensive juggernaut of a performance in the Super Bowl, right? The Rams didn't look that great either.
Right.
Offensively. So
it's just one of those things where it's like
the Rams, Jesus.
You're good. It was the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs.
But, they were in that game, and it's like, if you throw the ball a little more, you might win that game. But it was just one of the weirdest things I've seen where you take a guy in Jimmy Garoppolo that New England drafted in either the late first or early second round, whatever that was that year.
Second, I believe.
And then somebody that Belichick was trying to get rid of Brady to hold on to.
Right.
And then he goes to San Francisco. You trade a draft pick for him. He takes you to NFC Championship and Super Bowl. You pay him all this money, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, we can't trust you to throw the ball.
Yo, I got a question for you guys.
Crazy.
Now, Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent after this season. Let's say Mac Jones just keeps struggling, doesn't look good. Do you see a situation where Belichick's like, "Yo, go get me Jimmy, bring him back home, let's run this shit back"?
I'm gonna say this:
I
if
don't.
the Patriots keep playing like garbage, I don't think Belichick's gonna make that decision because I don't think he's gonna be with the organization.
Well, I
Next year.
have to
He would
stop
have
both.
to. He would
I
have
have to stop
to
both
retire,
of you on
right?
that because there's no way New England's going to go away from Mac Jones this soon. You didn't draft him in the first round to say, well, we're going to give you 2 years with a bad team, and then that's all you got. Like they're tied to him now, and Belichick will never be fired from New England. They could lose every game for 5 years in a row. The only way
fans are already
Belichick's leaving
screaming
is if
for
he
it.
Who cares? You think Robert Kraft cares what the fans say?
No,
No,
the
clearly
dude was
not.
getting handies in a parlor, in a massage parlor. Like, chill.
Goes, oh, look what I got. We're fine.
Yeah, they don't. They're not gonna. They can't get. Belichick would have to retire for that to happen. And
You're
I
more
don't
likely to see Jimmy go to the Colts and them tell Matt Ryan it's time for you to retire because you suck.
Dude, that's a
As they
surprise too, man.
So why are the Colts the home of like old washed up quarterbacks? You saw it with
because they
Phillip
can't
Rivers.
draft one. That's why.
Right,
Then they go after
they got
Carson
their money
Wentz.
spent everywhere. And the funny thing is they got so much money. They just I don't
Spend
know,
it
man.
everywhere but the quarterback.
I feel
position.
bad for Frank
looking
Reich
good.
a little bit because like he hasn't had the ability to like hand choose his quarterback. He's just
Right.
picking these guys off the fucking
You've
the
had
scrap
Carson
heap.
Wentz, Phillip Rivers. Now you've
Right, you
now
went
you've got
Phillip
Matt
Rivers
Ryan.
to Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan.
Well, he was there when Andrew Luck retired, right?
Yeah.
He was a rookie head coach, I believe.
Yeah, because
Like-
Andrew Luck 2 weeks for the season was
Right.
like, guess what?
Dude,
I don't
that
wanna
poor
play.
guy got thrown into this situation where he was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna be the head coach. I got all this shit.
Dynasty fantasy football team, I have Trevor Lawrence and Matt Ryan. And when I was so ready to hang it up with Matt Ryan after last year, he went to Indy and all the hype got me to buy in. And I was like, he's going to go there. He's got a great offensive line. He's going to throw the ball. And then last week he had the worst game of his career.
Yeah, it's
right.
Just what I thought that team was going to be a team that was going to really
a juggernaut.
Yes, you had the running game, you had an offensive line.
You've got it all. You've got the running game, you've got the defense, and now you've got the quarterback to put it all together.
A limp noodle armed Matt Ryan, bro.
I don't get it.
It's
all right,
crazy.
boys. To hone everything back into our Chicago Bears here before we wrap the show up. Ultimately, we gave our keys to victory. We believe that this is a very winnable game. Everyone agrees that the Bears can win this game, right? Everyone agrees that the Bears are going to win today?
Yeah, I got the Bears winning. I think it's going to be 24-17. That's what I got. Bears 24.
I'm going to say 28-21 Chicago Bears. What do you got, Vince?
I think it's going to be 31-10.
Yo, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Love
because if
to
it's 31, that means that Justin Fields over on passing yards.
I think Fields.
Gonna have
I
a
think
touchdown.
the Bears, honestly, against the Texans, I think the Bears have a chance to have Fields throw for two between 250 and 300, 2 touchdowns. I think you're going to see a rushing touchdown and a field goal. It could even be a Fields rushing touchdown to take away one of the passing touchdowns. But I just think the Bears are way better than Houston.
I agree.
I like
and what they've been doing on offense. I think it's the perfect defense they're going against because they don't really want to throw the ball downfield. Like they've just done it because they get behind.
Right.
I think they really just want to work in that intermediate area, and that's perfect against the cover too.
I have one question real quick for you guys. Is George Kittle playing?
He is.
Okay, cool. All right, because I'm doing
that means I'm
making
need to edit
bets
my
and
fantasy
shit, so
lineup.
I'm trying to see. I think he's going to have a touchdown today. So
I would agree. All right, boys. Been a great show. I'm looking forward to the game. I'm hyped. I'm ready to go. As always, here on USN, we have that excitement when it comes to the Bears. We're fans first before we're analysts. So,
hey, and a little bonus here, Ace. I think Jeff Wilson's going to run for over 100 yards today for San Francisco.
All right,
there we go. Hot take.
Kittle is the key cog
lead
in that whole offense that makes the run game work. He's that extra blocker that's fast enough to get to the second level and open things up for the running backs.
Jeff Wilson. I'm putting together a little same game parlay on
Got you.
that game. So I'm about to do that. Thank you, sir.
Kittle's gonna
All
get
right,
a touchdown.
everybody.
Wilson's gonna run for 100.
As always, we appreciate you joining us here on Undefeated Sports Network. We will be back with you next week, same time, covering the Bears' next matchup. Hopefully, they will be at a 2-1 position, and we can be happy Bears fans. Appreciate you as always. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Bear down, and thank you guys for watching.